10, 11 years ago, I thought the podcast space was overcrowded.
Wow.
Like didn't know anything about editorial, design. It was my first business and I was just doing it for fun. If Nathan was too much out there, then I'm not building an asset-based business and I'm building a Nathan Chan show.
Nathan Chan, founder and CEO of Foundr, one of the biggest entrepreneurial media brands coming out of Australia. He started in his bedroom in 2013, before this shit was cool. Built it to millions of followers. Tim Ferriss, Richard Branson, Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin. The names are monstrous. Today, we're going deep on AI and personal brands and what it actually takes to build a founder brand in 2026.
Who doesn't want to create content? Who doesn't want to build a following? You don't have to. It's just a really great growth hack.
What are you doing in your stack and what's it actually helping you do in the how-to sense?
12 months ago, I would have had to spend 6 to 8 hours. I gave it the brief around what I needed to talk about, the presentation, the topic. It was 99% there in 10 minutes. I have a whole presentation in deck. I delivered it yesterday, rocked people's world.
The thing most founders get wrong about content is
that.
Nathan, welcome to FlowZone.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark. Glad we could finally make this happen, dude.
I know, man. Well, like I was just saying to you off air beforehand, like I remember when you put out this course, right? And you were one of the first course creators selling, you weren't even selling it. You were giving it big, fast value up front. It was called IG Dom, as in IG domination.
Yeah.
I downloaded that. Now, I was with a dealer group at the time that didn't really let me have a personal brand outside of their own colors, right? But I was starting a number of other brands in the real estate and prop tech services. And I'm like, I need to help these founders develop their brand and I need to understand what they're doing so I know if they're wasting their time or they're on track. And I've got to say, that was powerful shit back then. I don't even know what year that was. It was somewhere in the 2010s, right?
It was like, I think like 2015, 2016. Yeah, crazy times. Man, 10 years ago, dude. That's wild.
Man,
so you're an OG customer.
Yeah, it could be
OG.
Now, on top of that, though, like 10 years right now, people can't even see 10 years ahead, right? I think people are struggling to see 10 weeks or at worst, at most 10 months ahead. So tell us, like, then versus now, like we've heard a bit of the backstory. What are you now doing in 2026?
So, a lot has changed. More than ever. Who doesn't want to be a creator, right? Who doesn't want to be a creator? Who doesn't want to create content? Who doesn't want to build a following? I think more than ever, we are seeing the power of having a media brand, whether it's through a person and an individual, more than ever, or even a subsequent arm of a company's business, like a subsequent arm of a business or a company, where more than ever, there is so much noise, more than ever, there is so much distrust. Who isn't, selling or, hawking a course or a coaching program, and who more than ever, who isn't an expert? So I think it's only going to get more crowded, and I think more than ever, you need to build a relationship with people through content, and there's many different ways to do that, and more than ever, it's become easier with AI. So that's kind of what's happening now for us as a focus. As I was saying to you offline, like we're still really working hard trying to create great content that truly helps people first and foremost. 99.9% of it is free, and then that 0.1% premium. And, that premium content and the implementation, that's where we help founders. And more than ever, we help D2C e-com founders, especially ones that want to grow. They've got product market fit, they have traction, and they want help with growth. So that's what's changed, right? So we've got a much more, I guess, better understanding 10 years ago around who our customer is, who we are, who we want to be, who we want to serve, and also just the output, man. Like, isn't it crazy, I was just, before I came here, I was on the phone to a friend and we're talking about Claude Enterprise, right? And like how we're just like loading them licenses, man, every single person, like training every single person up, like looking at what can we be disrupting here in somebody's day to day, right? Well, like how can we automate this? How can we move faster? What are the skills that we need to add to Claude? Like let's go. You know what I mean? Like it's for people like us that are very entrepreneurial mind running at 100 miles an hour, it's hard to sleep sometimes because you just kind of always just, dude, let's do this. Let's get a report here. It's all plugged in now to HubSpot, this kind of stuff. Now can run your DMs. Now can look at your socials. Now can plug into Instagram. Like everything. Like you can be always on. It's kind of scary, but it's such an exciting time.
I'm struggling to sleep at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not just due to stress, you know, like you get pretty good over time at having a certain level of like risk versus reward in your life when you've got multiple ventures and you're around this. But yeah, the lack of sleep for me is just like, you know, what can I advance? How far forward can I get this ball? And then what can I set co-work on to working on overnight or computer?
Yeah.
So that when I get up tomorrow, like I'm actually in a whole order of magnitude higher.
Yeah.
The skills are coming at that fast and just the ability to ask for something that you want.
Yeah.
So like, I'm curious on that because this has been a real challenge for a lot of people, especially those that are kind of founders are often a little bit in the neurotype towards ADHD, right?
Yeah.
I think I could be identified as that. And when you can point your focus at something, like you're unstoppable. But when there's so many things that could be beneficial, that could be productive, how are you choosing where you point your focus with the preamble we've just had?
Yeah, well, look, it comes back to like you're planning out the year. What does success look like? How do you break it down? What does the quarter look like? What are your OKRs? All of that kind of stuff. And then there is a big education piece with your teams and you as a founder because this space is moving so fast. Now, I reposted on my Instagram something really, really quite hilarious. I want to pull it out because it was a really good one because I think
we got to see this. If we can actually cue this up and get a screenshot of it, it might be good.
I think it's really telling because on your feeds, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, you're hearing and you're seeing people talk about this is happening with AI. I've just automated it. I've just got all my marketing done. I've got all my account, like I'm the first one person, like all these crazy stuff, right? But here's the reality check. This is a post that I reposted from a guy called Dan Fleischman. Reality check. AI technology is not going to impact the day-to-day of most small businesses. AI agents are not going to be running most companies. Claude bots are not going to force massive layoffs, even the way the media portrays. The reason why is human nature. The vast majority of businesses haven't updated their website in years. They don't know how to post videos on Instagram or how to accept Bitcoin or Apple Pay, and they're not running agentic AI LLM models. So what we are seeing is there's a small percentage of people that are pushing a lot of noise, which causes this mass hysteria with people like you or I. It's like, oh my God, I'm missing out. I got to be on the cutting edge. But if you actually look at the stats, there's some crazy statistics that like the adoption here is like so early.
Yeah, I did actually see that. Like, you know, Dan Martell was talking about it just recently because he's got one of his challenges running at the moment. And it's just like, look, you know, we're early to the party. Like most people are still opening ChatGPT, maybe telling it a joke. But, you know, the amount of people who have actually downloaded it on the planet is like this minuscule percentage. It's definitely single digits, right? Yeah. And then the amount of people that have progressed beyond just having a few chats here and there and even paid for it is like a percentage of that. Yeah. And so like just by even learning how to go to automation or even using one agentic workflow, you're in the like 0.001% of the global population right now.
Yeah, and dude, like I don't know about you, and I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but if anyone tells me, like if they actually know their stuff right now and they're saying they're using ChatGPT and not Claude or Manus or Anthropic, like, or Perplexity, it's like, that's child's play stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. It's literally, child's play is probably a good response for it. I'm actually really disappointed that they haven't evolved like OpenAI. I don't know what game they're playing, whether it's just a wholesale game with like US governments and they're just trying to build data centers. So they've got the kind of land grab on infrastructure, but that's a huge bet that no one else is going to figure out a better way. Why not just make the product so damn good that like it feeds the exact users what they're after and then we can all evolve that together, which just seems to be what Anthropic's done. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, dude.
What do you think?
Literally, look, I don't know enough to comment. All I can tell you is from what I'm seeing, I was paying, I think it was the $300 a month ChatGPT, whatever the plan
Same
was.
Pro, yeah.
And I literally downgraded it 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Claude Enterprise for the whole team.
Yeah.
And like, that's all I'm on. And me personally, I'm on Manus because
Yeah.
I've just like, I've been pushing that to its limits. And I like some of the native integrations with Manus. Like I haven't touched it yet, but you can play with ads because it's owned by Facebook. You can play with Instagram. You start to really it gets juicy. It gets spicy, man. So like, yeah, I have not touched Claude
Yeah.
I have not touched Claude. I was waiting. Now you can do it with Claude, right? Like,
yeah.
So
look, I'm not far off that, and it probably is a good segue into like what stack you're actually running right now, because I think it's good for people to just see someone that's at the forefront of brands, founder brands, and your own personal brand development. Like you didn't really run a personal brand of your own previously. You were the brand inside Foundr.
Yes.
And Foundr was the brand. And that's up to sort of in the last few years. But now you've started like leaning into your own. I see like you got 50K or so followers on Instagram. Hopefully it goes up to 100 after this episode.
Yep.
The snippets are going to be worth it on their own. But, like what are you doing in your stack and what's it actually helping you do in a how-to sense?
Yeah. So I'll make no claim that I've got it worked out yet. I play around with it myself, found a team. All of their focus is on Foundr. There's this portion of time where there's a little bit of content, but I'm not doing a good job. I just want to put it out there. I'm not doing a good job. So
you're very humble. I think you've always been You've always been probably more humble.
I don't want people to look at my stuff and go, "Oh my God, this guy thinks he's worked out." Because that part I definitely haven't yet. But it's going to be a big focus this year. So in terms of my AI stack, I'm Manus through and through, and I use a little bit of NotebookLM. I find NotebookLM, especially for analyzing content and really going deep and listening and reading and consuming that content, is the best.
So with NotebookLM, I might just actually ask a discerning question on this, because I've just found I like the output of it.
Yes.
But I've just found I've got to iterate the prompts that many times to actually pull what I want out of it. And I wonder if there's just another way of getting that same sort of juice.
I find with prompting, sometimes it's better to ask another platform like Manus. I want to get this. What should my prompt be?
Yeah. And
then I go to NotebookLM as an example, but I use NotebookLM as my repository from a content perspective.
Yeah.
And from a personal brand perspective, I've got NotebookLM. Basically, it's there. I've got all my top interviews I've done, all through on YouTube, any articles, everything. So it knows me. And then I've got automations going with my agent, who's called Sterling on Manus. Sterling's every day. He's pulling stories. He's creating carousels, briefing our design team. Like that's one area.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one area. The second area is scraping. Like getting Manus to look at people in my niche, people in my market, what content is outlier content.
Yeah.
I haven't got to recording videos, scripting, any of that stuff. We've got a short form editor that is starting next month. That's going to be a big piece of it, right? Just like we're not going hard on clips, videos yet. But those are the basics, man, right? So I definitely make no claim that I've got it worked out yet. But
that's cool. So you're talking like Claude is your kind of master operating system. Manus is the one that's kind of agentically running things for you, going and scraping and batching stuff up with ideas, creating carousels. Like you're talking the imagery of the carousels yet, or are we just talking the words?
I tried to get Manus to create the imagery. It just couldn't quite get it yet.
Yeah.
It will though.
I found I had a lot of issue with like in static imagery, getting the right images. It was great. So it would go into my Google Drive.
Yep.
It would find me at a computer. It would find me talking to the team or doing a public presentation. It would even recreate one on my computer with a tidied up background that was like barely perceptible, which I would still note as AI driven or whatever. But when it came to putting words over the top of it, it just totally flunked.
Yeah. So the formatting, the formatting, a lot of these tools, you can't, from my perspective, editing and design just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
Like you still need good editors. You still need good designers. The visual, it can't scan it properly. So yeah, I've found that too. So that's why we brief our team. But for the most part, like I said, I think the next evolution for me is just shit tons of clips, face to camera videos, all that good stuff. So clipping, remixing, face to camera, scripted, all that good stuff. And then, you still need a good short form editor and then someone that, which will eventually come, that is just obsessed with you, your content, everything that's going on. I don't have that yet. Right. But so that's what I'm saying. I'm not sitting here like working out, like sitting here going, yep, this is the formula.
Well, you're building in public basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's my stack. Right.
Yeah.
And also just to correct you, I don't use Claude Code. My whole team is.
Yeah.
But I'm very Manus.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. You like to more ask it something and it works it out.
Well, I use Manus agents.
Yeah.
I use Manus agents. Okay. So I have automations going constantly. And but I just haven't gone the whole Claude route yet. But you know, I'm really pro Manus, and I've been using Manus for a good solid 4 months now. I find it still to be the best for copywriting as well, the best for listening, learning, just like doing multiple things as well, like how it breaks things out. Like it's truly exceptional. I've found it to be strongest. Now, I haven't played enough with Claude yet though.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a good read. That's a good read. And look, a lot of people are getting just so much out of Manus that they just don't need to go and try OpenClaw or to go somewhere in between with Perplexity Computer or, you know, Cowork. I've decided to launch into Cowork just because I went straight from ChatGPT to Claude.
Yep.
And I went from, you know, pro to max basically. Yep. And then I kind of played around the terminal a bit, but I'm just like, it's just too esoteric. You know, it's too geeky. I kind of need to see the interface and see things developing.
Yes.
I did start the Manus account. I've got one, but I just had to keep upping my limits all the time. I was just churning through the tokens.
Dude, I'm spending $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Legit.
I reckon Manus just gone, man, let's just buy this thing for a few billion. We'll pay ourselves back in a week or two.
Yeah. I now set a rule that if it's going to cost over, I think it's 500 credit. It's something, it might be 5,000 or 500. It might be 500. I said, if a task is going to be over 500 credits, I need you to let me know.
Yeah. Before you start it.
Yeah.
Then just hitting a limit and go, give us your card again.
Because I think I'm literally, I don't even pay attention, but I think I'm legit at maybe 80,000 or 100,000 credits a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm smashing it. And I'm 10xing as a founder.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like, it's so fun, man.
That's where the arbitrage is, right? That's where the alpha is. So people at the moment are saying like, oh, you could get lost in that and, you know, you'll go on tangents and you'll get away from the fundamentals. I'm like, these are the fundamentals. Like this is the new world order, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's good, like you said before, you're doing foundation work now. Right. And you're working out how it's working and you're talking about more content, more iteration, scraping, learning, figuring out what's next. You haven't just gone and hired someone and said, I don't know what to make, just make it.
Yeah, no.
So I think, you know, like I had Alan Dibb on here the other day, global best-selling author of One-Page Marketing Plan, Lean Marketing. And it was his repeat time. And I just got straight into it with him, like what he's working on at the moment. And a lot of it is optimizing to use more of his own methodology. You know, and when I think about it, I've had these operating systems scaling up, fishing upstream, now lean marketing and all the Hormozy stuff in a lot of the businesses that I've put in over the years. But getting it operationalized is slow. When you've got AI, you can actually get speed. It's like a speed to market. You get the iteration and the feedback almost instantly. And it's just but it's good to have a framework. Like, you know, a marketing standard, or I heard you say OKRs before, which for the audience is objectives and key results, right? So it's John Doerr made that famous. So it's like a parallel to scaling up or entrepreneurial operating system.
Yeah.
So that being used, I suppose, you're still setting your goal about what you're going after in a business, but then you're just turboing it up with this. Is that what it's looking like?
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking at team. I'm looking at how we can really crank everything up. I'm looking at how we can get leverage, and I'm looking at myself as how can I 10x as a founder? Now, I have an AI coach, and I call him a coach because we kind of help each other out.
Yeah.
I help him out on digital products, education, coaching, information, all that kind of stuff, that space, because he's starting to get into it. And he's like a 21-year-old kid, and he's just like on this content creator journey. He's killing it. And he is just so deep in the weeds. He doesn't have any staff, doesn't have like all these other things. And every day he wakes up and 15 hours, he's just playing and having fun. And he creates content around it. So for he and I, we kind of really go up and back, and it's quite a really fun kind of trade, and we help each other out. And, you know, the concept of 10xing as a founder is one that I took and learnt from him. And that's all I'm obsessed with, right? It's so much fun, and it's like the game has changed. I agree. But the biggest thing I've taken away, and this is a kid that has played with it all, pushed his stuff to the limits, like insane levels, like spending more time than anyone on this stuff. And all of his friends, like he's based in Sydney. He goes to the US and does these hacker houses with all these other big AI content creators, and they just work for 4 days and don't sleep. Like that's the
you can imagine the Red Bull getting around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the kind of person this kid is, right? So he's on the cutting edge. So through him, I'm able to stay tapped in of where we're at, how fast is my work, like how can I stay on the pulse? And you know what? The number one thing I've taken from him is these tools in many ways are only as good as your documentation to train them. Right? So your Michael Gerber E-Myth stuff, like I used to historically as a founder, I hated. That's like definitely not my strength, as operationalizing things, systems, processes. But now I have a newfound love for documentation.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I have the documentation for all of these key parts of the puzzle, I can upload it to my agent and it's stored there in the database or whatever you want to call it. And then it knows, right? So like as an example, Manus has access to all of these interviews I've done, as well as NotebookLM. It knows me very, very, very intimately around my thoughts around business and strategy and content creation, all that stuff.
Sterling, you got a bromance.
Yep, exactly. Me and Sterling, yes. And basically, like, I'll give you an example. So I had to do a presentation for a buddy's community. Man, 12 months ago, I would have had to spend 6 to 8 hours knocking this thing up, thinking about it. Even with ChatGPT, it could put out the text, but then you got to design it and play around with it. Even with Gamma, like I was using Gamma. You use Gamma?
I use Gamma like a lot. Yeah.
Oh man, Manus puts it to shame, dude.
Yeah.
Puts it to shame. So, dude, I gave it the brief around what I needed to talk about, the presentation, the topic, briefed it, came back. It was 99% there in 10 minutes. I have a whole presentation and deck. I delivered it yesterday, rocked people's world.
Wow.
Like,
that's
didn't even have
the
to
unlock.
think. Yeah, and the design was on point. The design, like Manus with decks and stuff, is on point. So the point where I'm going is you are only as good as your documentation.
Yeah.
Now, my AI coach, he's big on Notion. I never got there with Notion. He's slowly getting me on. There's some things I need his help with, but like he's got it to the point where Notion knows him so well through all of his documentation, even his finances. It plans his day. So he's using Notion AI, and he's using Notion AI and Notion as his second brain, because he's documented so much about him, his schedule, projects, things that he's working on. It's connected to everything. It's his own personal assistant and his second brain. But then he's still using all of his automations with Claude, all that kind of stuff, right? So he's got his and he does open Claude, but I think he's going to move it to basically like co-work. He's going to move it to co-work or computer, right? One of the two, right? So long story short, the biggest thing I've taken away from someone pushing this stuff to the highest limits is you are only as good as your documentation and what you train it on. And I used to hate documentation. Now I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to keep it now, right?
Yes.
So, like, it was a pain in the ass. Now, like, I am a fan of the E-Myth, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, where most of us at some point have been the technician at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah.
And then you sort of make your way through being a manager, and then you go into the business owner mindset. And then you got the entrepreneur's mindset, then you got the investor mindset. So the whole idea is like getting yourself out of your company and becoming active, passive in the way it runs, but it's running on your operating system. And when I came into real estate, like over 20 years ago now, I'd come from an engineering background. I was just blown away how unsophisticated real estate was. Like, we're talking about people's money, huge decisions, data, like representations being made, and people were writing stuff down and still are. There's still plenty of agencies that fill out agreements, handwritten, and take open houses on a book, or just don't take anything. They take a mobile number and let them walk through the house. So when I started documenting back then, it was like hiring teams of VAs or onshore PAs if they even wanted to do the work. They'd have sickies all the time because it was mind-numbing work. So to document would actually take 3/4 of your day. Now, like you're saying with Notion, I'm not quite there with Notion yet either. I'm trying to figure out where it fits. Is it project management? Is it keeping notes? Like, I've got note takers on everything. I'm running one now, but then I've got these big text excerpts that I can then put into markdown files for my knowledge bases. So I'm curious with Notion, like, what's he doing with Notion that's making it so easy to keep all this stuff?
Internal wiki. So it's like he uses Notion as his internal wiki, second brain, documentation on steroids for every single thing you could imagine.
So unstructured, basically just capturing his day in the transcript?
Structured as well. Structured as well. Very, very structured. So like, as an example, he would put, if he does sales calls on selling a client, he would put the whole process, like so every single little thing, but then really personal things as well about him, his decision-making process, like everything, like really the level of depth, like even more deeper than an E-Myth level, like him as a person, how he thinks, how he makes decisions, how he operates, everything, like Whoop data, like everything in there. That's his internal wiki for him as a person. So then it doesn't matter, and this is the key thing, and this is I want people to take away. I think one of the reasons, and I've heard this before, one of the reasons that people are on the sidelines with a lot of this AI stuff is because it is moving so fast. You think to yourself, and this is one of the first questions I was asking when I started working with him. I'm like, dude, I haven't played around with this stuff enough because it is moving so fast that I am worried that by the time I spend the time to set this stuff up, it'll already be onto the next thing. And that's what I took away. It doesn't matter what tool it is, whether it's OpenClaw or Claude Cowork or Manus, it doesn't matter because you have the documentation. You can always just plug it into your Notion. See where I'm going with this? So that's how he thinks about it. And I think that's the way forward. And I think that's really smart. My mind's gone blank, but what's that tool? It's like Zapier on steroids.
Make or?
Not Make. And it's with the diagrams and the connectors.
N8N?
N8N. N8N, man, like I think that's going to be done soon, right?
Yeah, I do too. I basically, Manus, I've already done some automations with Perplexity Computer, with Manus and with Cowork, where I've just asked it to go and connect, and it just go and connect.
Yeah, 100%.
The most you've got to do is give permission.
Correct. So I didn't go down that N8N pathway because it seemed like so much work.
The vibe coding.
Yeah. It seemed like so much work. And you see these people with these crazy automations, and that's been a thing for the past 18 months. But now I think that's irrelevant. But if you had all of those processes documented in your Notion, then you can just pick up where you left off. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So I think there's validity in what he's saying, and that's what I think. I hope that gives people comfort that if you build out, and it doesn't have to be Notion, but if you build out your documentation and your second brain. Maybe Claude, I don't see it, but maybe Claude isn't the thing in 12 months' time, right? Maybe it's some other new tool.
Maybe you just transplant.
Correct, exactly right. And you don't lose nothing.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you on that. So I was just listening to Boris, who wrote Claude Cowork, and he was involved in very early Claude as well from Anthropic. And he was talking about what they do at Claude for their own Claude code. And they just run a repository in GitHub, which is a little bit techier. I only just got into GitHub recently because I kind of needed it to build something, and Perplexity Computer was like saying, you need this. Okay, I'll get it.
Yeah.
But it makes total sense because it's like Notion's a version of it. It's kind of a really user-friendly version of it because it's all plain text and it's organized very visually. But if you've got a GitHub, you can just basically be extracting everything in Markdown. Like the files don't take up any space. I used to have thousands of Google Docs and finding shit was the problem. Even though I was building knowledge bases, it's like they all had different names and the version control was out. When you've got a GitHub, you basically just say submit, submit, submit. And you can just set it up so it auto submits. So he could do that with his Notion, or anyone could do it. So there's two ends of the spectrum there. I think this has been good value, this little part of the combo. There's a real spectrum of people working on this at the moment, and it depends what they're going for, right? You know, we've definitely talked about, you know, what sort of Foundr's doing, but I suppose as far as, you know, building your personal brand now versus then, like if we were back to scratch, right, and you were building Foundr from scratch, what would you do differently in 2026 than you started doing in 2013 when you kicked it off?
The Nathan Chan brand would be 1,000 times bigger, and Foundr as a business would be 1,000 times bigger, I believe, if first and foremost, I just got out of my own head, chose myself, and all that mental shit around not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy to share, and just started sharing, like legitimately. If I started a YouTube channel, some sort of vlog, like I would have straight off the gate, I would have found a way or tried to find a way to do mainly video interviews and ideally in person. And I would just flat out go hard on the clips, man, flat out just do the tours like what I'm going to do, right? Like do the international tours 3 times a year, do every interview in person, and just share and put out more content around Nathan, what I'm building, and taking people on that journey. That has been something that has taken me far too long to build my confidence to do that because, as I said to you off air, admittedly, I started Foundr coming from an IT support background, didn't know anything about editorial, design, business. In fact, like it was my first business and I was just doing it for fun, like a magazine, like interviewing successful founders, a little hobby side passion project. That's like how I saw it. And then I'm supposed to be this big guy. Like I remember used to being always so embarrassed that I was interviewing people and saying, yeah, I'm just doing this on the side. Or like, you know, I hope that I can go and do this full time. And like, yeah, for so many years, Mark, I was like, just didn't feel worthy and had this big chip on my shoulder. And if I could just go back in time and say, man, you're a fucking idiot. You need to be documenting this. You need to be putting it out. You need to be building a stronger and deeper connection with people that follow the brand. I think it would have been such a different journey, right? And now it's got to a point in time where I believe, especially not all businesses, right? Like not all businesses, you have to do this, but it's definitely one of the biggest hacks for growing a business. So as an example, no one knows who Drew Houston is. If I tell you the name Drew Houston, you don't even know who he is.
It's not jumping out at me. No.
Correct. Or Joe Gebbia, right? Joe Gebbia founded Airbnb. Drew Houston founded...
I know Brian Chesky from Airbnb, but he's the one who did the interviews.
Yeah. So he's one of the co-founders, right?
Yeah.
Drew Houston founded Dropbox.
Right.
These guys don't have personal brands and they've built massive multi-billion-dollar companies. Some of the most visited websites and products used in mainstream Western society. They do not have personal brands, right? So I'm not saying that you need to go and do this. All I'm saying though is if you are a founder right now and you are a solo founder or you're bootstrapping or you don't have ridiculous piles of money and you're not focused and you're doing a consumer-based product or even a B2B product, just a cutting edge hack is to put yourself out there and build a relationship because people will back you and people will follow you. And you creating content, it's just a great form of marketing now, right? And more than ever, it is one of the biggest hacks to get cut through in this noisy world, and showing you and building a relationship, and people trust people, right? So that's all I would say. And so for me, I think the industry and the market, it's come to a point in time where I just, once again, have to do this. If I'm not, I'm falling behind. So that's why I'm doing it now. But that's what I wish I had done, dude. It's stupid.
Well,
Stupid.
It's not too late though, right? You
No.
are doing it now. Gary Vee talks about this all the time. I'm 50-something years old, and I'm fucking starting now, and you can start if you're 70,
So, dude, it's funny you say it's not too late, because it definitely isn't. I remember when I was starting the Foundr podcast, literally 10, 11 years ago, I thought the podcast space was overcrowded.
Wow.
Like there was a lot
You were
of podcasts.
like so early to the party.
Yeah. Dude, legit. Like there are a fair few people that just interviewed successful founders.
Yeah.
Right? Like back then, Apple, like podcasts, there was no Spotify. Like, dude, legit, I used to think that everyone had a podcast and podcasts were really crowded. This guy I met through the internet had a magazine, and it was about podcasting, right? And, how to be a good podcaster, and he had a whole program, like all these things, man. Like it was crazy, dude.
I must admit, at first I was like, why would someone listen to a podcast instead of an audio book or instead of something more entertainment based? And it wasn't really till I started ripping into Tim Ferriss's stuff, which I didn't get to through podcasts. I got to through his books. And then like 4 Hour Body, 4 Hour Work Week. And then I went over to his show and I'm like, hang on, these episodes are actually pretty good value. Like I'm getting insights into how this guy lives. I'm getting insight into how this guy makes decisions. I'm actually hearing him swear a lot. Like you don't get a lot of that in an audio book because it's too curated. And it started to dawn on me like much later that I do like doing business with people when I know the owner of the restaurant, or, I know their ethos, or I know how they are when they get drunk and they're still fun. They're not the person who becomes all of a sudden condescending or, like real chauvinistic or something like that. Whereas you do see that play out when you get to see someone, you take a different side of them. And I'm like, well, it's kind of unfair for a business to have its leaders all in the dark and expect their clients just to build trust with them and go ahead with these big decisions based on what's on their website or a couple of Google reviews. So I think it makes total sense now that we kind of get to choose who we want to do business with and find people who believe what we believe, and they get the same for you. So if you're in the dark, it's like it's a chance game as to whether you're going to get a client that's actually a good relationship. What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. More than ever, society, when somebody's thinking about doing business with another business or buying from another business, where do you go? You go to Instagram or you go to TikTok. You don't always naturally go to the website, right? You look up a brand, you're just like, oh, okay. So then what do you see? Like, so you see people more than ever are interested around the person behind the company, more than ever. And there's a reason you can see why a lot of these founders who used to not do content, podcasts, and media are doing it because it's incredibly powerful. These guys aren't stupid. But like I said, I'll come back to it. Your business will be okay if you don't have a personal brand. You don't have to. It's just a really great growth hack, I believe. And it does unlock a lot of opportunities from a thought leadership perspective. And once you become a perceived thought leader, then you're the person of choice to do business in that particular niche or market.
I've also found there's another like hack in there, and you're working with a lot of e-com brands and a lot of founders and smaller teams in a lot of cases because there's a lot more tech involved than the D2C marketplaces. But most of my scaling of business and venture capital has been in service companies. And service companies is really about operational excellence. You've got to have really strong marketing message and understand your ideal client profile. But operational excellence comes from having the right people in the right seats, doing the right things in the right ways at the right time. And I find I've only really dialed into growing my personal brand in the last kind of, let's say, year. I had content going out before, but it was always like branded by the company and very stiff. And I was actually being told to groom it.
Yes.
I was with a dealer group that didn't let me go too far. I had multiple companies that they knew about, but I wasn't even allowed to like their posts without getting shit hung on me, Wow. And so I'm glad that's gone now. But I also think it helps a lot in hiring. Not so much in just becoming famous and people wanting to come and work for you, but having people that believe what you believe. There's so much greater chance that when you've got values that you want to lean on, when you get through times that are testing, when you've got like an extra bit of effort that's got to be, pushed or whatever that might be, that you've got a much better chance of hiring a team that are kind of the team you really want, not just ones that went well at the interview, but they're kind of job surfing in the background until a better opportunity comes along.
Yep, I agree. That's a really good call out, 100%. I actually remember we used to do a vlog for Foundr and we used to do behind the scenes, and some really, we stopped doing it because it just didn't get any traction and it didn't get many views, but it was really funny to hear that some of our like really, really good hires around the time that we were interviewed, those people watched that.
Wow. Yeah.
It didn't have many views. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like that's really interesting because it's such a great insight to understand a company, right? And understand the person. And it's the Kardashian effect, man. Like they were the OGs on personal branding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you think of it, they have televised their whole life and the ups, the downs, and that's how they're able to build big businesses now because people have that relationship with them in some way, shape, or form. Love them or hate them, they are the OGs in personal branding, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And people who do get into business, they know who they're getting in bed with, like metaphorically. Some of them have gone a bit further than that.
Yeah.
So, like, I suppose building Foundr's brand versus building your own, right? This is something that a lot of founders, leaders, or even people within businesses are kind of wondering about at the moment.
Yes.
Like where the intersection of personal brands happening in like a house of brand effect.
Yes.
And then the business itself, does it still have a brand? And what's it now made up of if it's just a collection of personal brands? How does that work?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So I was obsessed. So one of the reasons I was behind Foundr and not as much front facing, or I was only front facing out of necessity, was because I was obsessed with this idea that I wanted to build an asset-based business, and that if Nathan was too much out there, then I'm not building an asset-based business and I'm building a Nathan Chan show. And that is a fail, right? Because I want to build something that's bigger than me. So I, for a very, very long time, was very obsessed with this idea. And that for that reason, I was not that focused on building my personal brand. Now, over time, I've actually changed my mind about this because I've looked at other companies like Tesla, Elon Musk, Virgin, Richard Branson, Huffington Post, Ariana Huffington, Amy Smile. Like the list goes on, right? Like Amy Smile, Odd Muse, right? The list goes on. And I've come to realize that every company needs a leader. And I need to be that leader. And so you can build a brand in isolation or in conjunction with your company brand. It just comes down to how strategic you are around it. So like Amy Smile, she grew her brand, the Odd Muse, from 0 to I think it was 30 million pounds in 4 years. And that's per year. So it's 30 million per year in pound. First business, never done it before. And she sells fashion for women.
Yeah.
And literally, she's got like, 500,000 followers on the Odd Muse Instagram account. And you see a lot of her, right? You see her doing just like a face to camera when she's had a really hard day, dude, right? That breaks all the traditional rules around branding and content and how to, build a brand. Like if you're a traditional D2C fashion brand, you know what I mean? But she's built a fantastic business and it is definitely an asset-based business. So I think The key is you can build your personal brand in isolation as long as you are not the product, if that makes sense. So Tony Robbins, I've once heard, I haven't heard him say this, but somebody once told me that Tony Robbins says and I'm going to preface, this is not perhaps a quotable, but I did overhear it and maybe I'm messing up the quotes, or maybe he didn't even say this, but I'm going to just repeat what I heard. That Tony Robbins, one of his big mistakes was if he could go back in time, he wouldn't brand around Tony Robbins, right? Because he is the product. But he's done such an exceptional job with his personal brand. That's why he owns like 100 companies doing tens of billions in revenue, right? But I think the point I'm trying to make is as long as you aren't the product, like you aren't part of the delivery, then you are building an asset-based business. And you can build your brand separately. And does it mean that you have to do it straight away? No. But it's once we come back to that piece of like, it's a really big hack. So for me with Foundr, to answer your original question, I was obsessed with building an asset-based business and didn't want to confuse the two. But now I've come to change my mind on that in the industry that we're in and the market that we are in, the brand needs a leader. Every great brand does. So why not just be the spokesperson of it?
Yeah.
And being a spokesperson of it is sharing, is talking about cool stuff, is taking people on a journey. It's, like doing an event and being, the host of the event. Like, you see where I'm going with this, right? So I've got comfort now around that, but that's how my idea has changed. But if you are starting a company today and you are confused, because this is a common question that comes up, should I create separate accounts, all this kind of stuff? I don't believe you need to anymore. You actually don't. You can collaborate with every single one. You can intertwine it. You actually don't need to anymore. Founder-led content is where it's at.
Well, makes total sense also for someone who's got a company called Foundr.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where is the founder?
Yeah.
So like they're great insights. And, it's something I'm seeing a lot of emerging too is this kind of, in venture capital, when our fund or private equity fund invests, it used to be like, what's their moat? And the moat was like the technology or the data or, like I like Hamilton Helmer, if you've heard of his literature, he's got something called 7 Powers, right?
Yeah.
It's a lens to look through businesses, usually businesses that can endure over a 10-year period or more with a sustainable advantage. So businesses like IKEA, they have process power as one of what they have. So they're able to recycle like sawdust, turn it into particle board that then gets turned into another product. So that also helps them then with pricing power, which usually comes through scale. And it's very hard to deliver pricing power over time. Now, brand power, one of the best examples of that would be Tiffany diamonds, right? Tiffany diamonds, the identical diamond is sold at Walmart. And it's like the difference in price is like $3,500 US to like $12,000 US. Same thing. And it comes with a box. That's the difference, right? But it's from Tiffany and people want to say it's from Tiffany. So that's pricing power. And there's others like counter positioning, which Netflix had on Blockbuster, right? And when you start to see these powers emerging, it used to be technology as a moat, the data that you're holding, some sort of unique way of doing business, like an account positioning that's going to be hard to replicate, like a speed to market advantage got you there and now you're the behemoth. But now, like when we look to invest, or even not just my fund, because like the serial acquirer fund is like more buy and hold for a long time. And you kind of want boring businesses on that are going to perform and you can keep increasing. But in the venture capital, it's like, show me the founder. And it's not always just look at their track record, because like a track record of like didn't quite get it right, got it a little bit more right, maybe now they're onto something. It's more like, show me the community that's around them. Show me how they hold themselves under criticism. Show me like who is backing them, because like that's going to help them instead of chucking the keys over the shoulder when it gets hard and then blame everyone. They're the people that can go and rally a community or pivot into a new customer segment. And so now I think there's this personal brand, there's brand, and there's like this community that surrounds it. We're starting to see more of these brands that have got like multiple characters in the brand that have got a decent sized personal brand. Like that wasn't really heard of before, especially with global companies like Anthropic. You go on Twitter, man, they've all got big followings, like hundreds of thousands. And these are guys that would have been in a dark room before drinking Red Bull.
Yeah.
So like, how do you think that is playing out now with having like multiple personal brands under the roof? And, you know, how do founders actually start to create that or cultivate that in their own business?
Yeah. So this is a really interesting question too, because when you think about the Foundr brand, we actually have done this in many ways, right? So it's not just Nathan. I've actually been behind the scenes. A lot of our founders that we interview or teach programs on our platform, we build their brands. And through that, that's how we're able to elevate the Foundr brand. And that's what builds insane amounts of trust and respect and authority and gives off this feel that we actually are a much bigger company than people would think. So when it comes to this house of brands concept, through how companies are using this as a moat, one that comes to mind, and like I said, I've never done this the way they're doing it, but I have done it with Foundr through multiple personalities, is the guys at Kinzo.
Just about to say it with Frank and Jacques and the crew.
Yeah. I've never met them, but they're doing an exceptional job around. They've got these young kids and they're taking people on a journey. It's absolutely genius. And look, I can't comment from an experience standpoint how to do that, but what I can comment from an experience standpoint is how to use talent and multiple content creators as part of your brand, because that's what I've done with Foundr from day one. Who was the first? It was Richard Branson. He didn't know it, but his front cover, that's what I used to build trust and authority, and that's why I gave away that edition for free. Then over time, once we started building out our course platform, the next really big personality talent that we had was Greta.
Yeah.
Right. She built 4 multi-million-dollar e-com brands. Right. So I've often looked at going, how can I use the Foundr brand as kind of the parent? That's what people are under. But then at the same time, we have talent that come through all day, every day. We can use the content that we produce as kind of a talent sifting ground. And then off the back of that, if our community likes that person, resonates with that person, then we can get that person to perhaps create a program with us, all these different things. So I often still to this day like to partner with talent for Foundr product or brand or collaborations, not too dissimilar to Call Her Daddy, the Unwell group, right? How Alex Cooper now has Alex Earl and all of these other famous creators now on, and she's building a whole network and a media arm, just like how HubSpot are doing it with their media network where they have multiple podcast shows.
Yes.
So I really like that idea. If you have a really strong parent brand, then people will want to align with you for distribution, just like Dave Portnoy, what he's done with, that he found the Call Her Daddy girls, right? And then that was a really big show. And then obviously it went out of their branch. But I see collaborating, working with other content creators or thought leaders in your space to build your brand is a very powerful tool. It's definitely not easy and things change and all these different things. But that is a big part of our strategy for growth, partnering with other content creators, working with them, creating content with them, creating paid content. Our newest, which we're talking about offline, our newest community that we've just launched, it's called Foundr Operators, where we help, existing D2C founders really scale up their brand through Facebook ads and other growth levers. And, I partnered with Nick Shackelford. So he's like the best of the best when it comes to running Facebook ads. Like I haven't seen anything like it. Like this guy, he's a partner at a company called Breeze. He helped grow that from 0 to 75 million in 3 years, US dollars. We've been working on this product for like 6 months. And I'm like, dude, we both like, we need to move faster. So I flew him down to Australia. He stayed at my house he had like never been to Australia before. So I took him to go see koalas. And we went to the zoo and he's like, oh, dude, I got to duck out. There's this brand I'm working with. And like I've only been working with them for 45 days and I'm scaling them up to, they want to spend $250,000 to $300,000 a day in spend.
Whoa.
US dollars. And I'm worried they're going to run out of stock. Like, who do you know that like plays at that level? So like now I've got Nick, we're building a whole system for our operating community, and over time this community is going to grow. But like, why would I want to teach that stuff?
Yeah.
Like I'm not qualified. Like, that would be insane. So that's what I like to do. I like to go out and become a connector. Like that, when you talk about my personal brand, where I want to go, when we think of word, I want to be a connector. I go out and find the best and either get them to teach on our platform, to coach for us, to create content with them, to interview them for our podcast, feature them on our magazine. Like that's what I do. So
that's like the Jay-Z effect, like when you look at what he did with Rockefeller Records and he's brought in Kanye and all these other artists, like it's very similar. He's got this house of brands.
Yeah. So that's how I think. So when you asked me around like, what is my thought around, company brand versus personal brands? I'm a big fan of working with content creators or thought leaders as talent and also as ambassadors.
Yeah.
To co-collaborate. Like, some of these guys, they do want to share more, but they don't have the expertise in sharing more.
Right?
Yeah. So if you can provide a platform to others, it can be very, very powerful.
That's gold. That's gold. Like, so let's say that there's someone listening to this, they've got a business doing, somewhere between 3 and 10 mil, right? So they've been around for a little while. Mm-hmm. Actually, just say $1 mil to 10 mil, right? Mm-hmm. Because like that's still in the very much small, medium category in Australia, or small. What's the minimum like equipment and human stack that you need for this? Are we needing videographers running around? Are they just shooting on iPhones? Or are we using a little bit more than that? If you want to get serious and dial this up, we've just agreed it's the most important thing.
Could be.
Oh, yeah.
Could be.
And it's in the age of AI and personal brands where the AI can help you double it up.
Yep.
But like, what's the physical component you think that, would be worth considering? They're making some money already.
Yeah. So if you really want to go hard on this, I think you probably just need 2 people, right? You need one person that's an editor, and you can find someone great overseas where they just are obsessed with you and clipping and all of that good stuff. That's the first piece, right? Then you need another person, most likely a videographer or someone that's going to help you on the creation side and capture side. And they just need to be, once again, obsessed with you, where you're at. And you need some form of a track, a vehicle, whether it's a YouTube series, whether it's a podcast series, whether it's a podcast show, or it's a news. You need something where you are consistently putting out content, right? So if you're not naturally a video guy, that's okay too, right? Obviously, I think video is the strongest, but if you're written, right, then you don't need an editor, but you don't need a content creator, perhaps. You just need, you don't need a videographer, perhaps, but you need a copywriter that is constantly, but you need to go out and go on other shows, and they can take that content and keep taking it and spinning it and spinning it and spinning it. But you need somebody that can fully own who you are and reproduce your thoughts in either a written format or a video format or an audio format, or ideally all 3.
Yeah.
But from a minimum stack perspective, if it were me, it's video, it's an editor, remote probably, and it's a videographer from my perspective.
That's
and
cool.
that videographer. So if you think of like a cost, I'd say sub 80 to 100 grand. Like that would be your investment. You would treat it like you would any bet. You line it up around ease of implementation. What's the return you think you can get, all that kind of stuff. And you treat it like a business case. You put a business case behind it and you say, I'm going to spend 100 grand for the next 12 months and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It's not let's see what happens, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have some measurables, but like that's one admin employee in Australia with Fair Work Act, right? And admin employees at the moment are looking for new work because they didn't like their role anyway in a lot of cases. They're looking for more value creation. Most of it can be identified now, or at least 60% of it, probably 80 or 90 soon. So that's good value, man. Look, wow, this has flown in FlowZone style. We've got rapid fire now, right? Okay. So these are just 5 questions. I start the sentence and you finish them. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So the biggest lie about building a personal brand in 2026 is?
That it's easy.
Great. I love these insights. They just roll out the top of the dome. The one AI tool I'd keep if I had to delete everything else is?
Manus.
Okay, yeah, I think that came through loud and clear. 5 years ago, growing an audience meant blank, and now it means blank.
5 years ago, growing an audience meant mastering maybe just one channel. Now it means mastering more than one channel if you really want to get strong cut through.
That's good. That's good. The thing most founders get wrong about content is?
That just because you said it, people are going to give a shit.
I thought you'd actually say like it has to be really groomed and perfect or something like that, but that's further upstream. I like that. Just because you said it, it doesn't mean people are going to give a shit.
Well, it's true, man.
If they even heard it.
No, but it's genuinely, like, as harsh as it sounds, like, I think oftentimes when we get into this space, you know, like, people are selfish. You got to really work to get people's attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. If I was starting Foundr today with 0 followers, the first thing I'd do is?
Start documenting.
Yeah. I think that's a really great reflection, because it's not like you're regretting not having grown any brand. You've grown a big brand that, you know, it's quite clear that you said that you would have been doing it before you felt like you were a superstar, you know, and got over the imposter syndrome. So I'm just going to share how I am doing it right now.
Yep.
Nathan Chan, thanks very much for coming on FlowZone, mate. This has been value-packed, and I'm looking forward to watching your journey unfold, watching your personal brand blow up, watching Foundr like find even more niches and just go for it. And I'll probably be talking about this in 10 or 13 years' time, like this was the idea, John strategy. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, man. Absolute pleasure.
Gold.